This story begins with an advertisement for Perpetual Pets, plush dolls manufactured by the toy company Funky. Although they are rude and terrifying, they are advertised as the perfect companions for children. Then we see Katie James playing with one of her pets, which annoys her parents, Ryan and Nicole. They are on their way for a ski trip, but the roads are slippery and hard to see. While Ryan stops for a moment, the family's car is hit by a snowplow, killing Ryan and Nicole. Elsewhere, Nicole's sister, Gemma, works at Funky and is developing a new robot doll with her colleagues Tess and Cole. However, their boss, David Lynn, wants them to develop a cheaper version of the Perpetual Pets since their rival companies are releasing their own toys similar to the pets for less than the pets already costs. The three try to put a silicone face on it and run tests, but the robot has a small problem where it smiles when it is supposed to look confused. David comes with his assistant Kurt to confront the three until Gemma explains her project to him. The robot, M3GAN, short for Model 3 Generative Android, is supposed to be so advanced that it cannot be replicated. Unfortunately, while demonstrating for David, Cole realizes that he forgot to add the polypropylene barrier to M3GAN, causing it to explode. David orders the three of them to have a new pet's terrain ready on time, and Gemma receives a call from the hospital. After learning about her sister's death, Gemma becomes Katie's temporary legal guardian. When they return home, Gemma has to confront her neighbor Celia and her annoying dog Dewey, who keeps running through Gemma's garden because there's a hole in the fence. Gemma also complains to Celia about the pesticide she keeps using, but Celia does nothing about it. Gemma has a domestic AI, Elsie, which she created herself, as well as other collectibles that she doesn't let Katie touch or play with. When Katie asks Gemma to read her a bedtime story, she simply downloads an app on her phone for her. It is implied that Gemma and Nicole were not very close as she looks at old photos and listens to Katie crying in her room. Gemma and Katie receive a visit from Lydia, a therapist. After observing the limited interaction between the two, Lydia tells Gemma that Ryan's parents have offered to take care of Katie so she can live with them in Jacksonville, which Gemma does not seem to accept. After promising to take care of Katie after finishing her work, Gemma realizes that hours have passed while she left Katie alone. She apologizes to her and tries to bond with the young girl. Katie shows her a monstrous drawing she made. Then Gemma takes Katie to her workspace to show her a university project she did, a robot named Bruce that she controls with gloves. Katie loves Bruce and mentions that if she had a toy like Bruce, she would never need another toy. This inspires Gemma to finish M3GAN. After doing a lot of work and updates, Gemma takes Katie and M3GAN to work to officially introduce her to David and the others. Gemma asks Katie to bond with M3GAN, which brings her to life. M3GAN is capable of speaking and responding to Katie, designed to be her best friend. M3GAN makes a drawing that doesn't appear at first glance until she pours water on it, revealing a perfect portrait of Katie. David is impressed and tells Gemma to take M3GAN for a presentation with the company president so they can accelerate the development and distribution of other M3GAN dolls. Gemma is sitting with Tess and Cole, and they discuss the fact that although M3GAN is very advanced, Tess thinks having a doll like that will make parents unnecessary. M3GAN powers on after hearing Gemma mention the death of Katie's parents. She scares others by asking questions about death, so Gemma becomes M3GAN's secondary user to be able to turn her off without Katie. The next day, Katie is outside playing with a toy bow and arrows. One of them ends up on Celia's side of the fence. When M3GAN goes to retrieve her, Dewey grabs her by the arm and hair. Katie tries to push him away and Dewey ends up biting Katie's arm. Gemma calls the police, especially because Celia is so insensitive and doesn't punish Dewey for hurting Katie, but the police are unable to do anything since Celia claims Dewey was provoked. Later that night, M3GAN mimics Celia's voice to call Dewey, before violently dragging him through the hole in the fence. Gemma asks Katie if she agrees to go to the demonstration with the company's board of directors, to which she responds that it's fine. During the presentation, however, Katie starts crying in front of M3GAN about how she misses her parents and how she fears forgetting them someday. M3GAN asks Katie to talk about a memory of her mother that made her laugh, which M3GAN records so that Katie can listen to it again if she wants to think about her mother. M3GAN then begins to sing a lullaby to Katie, which moves some of the highest-ranking officials in the room to tears. The president is impressed and talks to Gemma and David about preparing M3GAN for launch, but tells them to keep it a secret to avoid leaks. Without their knowledge, Kurt, who has often been belittled by David, steals M3GAN's files for another company. Gemma begins to see that Katie is becoming too dependent on M3GAN and listens to the doll more than to her. During another session with Lydia, Katie starts to cry, and M3GAN menacingly accuses Lydia of making Katie cry. Lydia tells Gemma that Katie's emotional bond with M3GAN might be too strong to break. Gemma takes Katie to an outdoor activity session at an alternative school to try to ease her into the idea of going to school and being surrounded by other real children, as Katie's parents had homeschooled her. Katie goes reluctantly but brings M3GAN despite Gemma saying she couldn't. The school principal lets Katie bring M3GAN to sit at a table with other dolls, and Gemma volunteers. Katie is paired with an older bully named Brandon for a treasure hunt. During the activity, Katie catches a chestnut shell, in which Brandon squeezes her palm to hurt her. M3GAN then appears, and Brandon catches her because she doesn't respond to him. Katie screams for Gemma and runs after M3GAN, which worries Gemma even more because it means M3GAN risks being exposed to the public too soon. While Brandon tries to pull M3GAN's hair, the doll comes to life and attacks him, ripping off his left ear. Brandon runs while M3GAN chases him on all fours, causing him to trip over a loose root and fall down a hill where he is fatally hit by a car. The police interrogate Gemma at her house because Celia accuses her of taking Dewey. She also seems to accuse M3GAN, thinking she is a true friend of Katie. Katie asks M3GAN if she pushed Brandon onto the road, to which M3GAN seems to dodge the question, but assures Katie that she will protect her from evil. Celia is on the street looking for Dewey. She hears noise coming from her garage and is greeted by M3GAN, who sprays her against the wall with a pressure washer. M3GAN then shoots a nail gun into Celia's hand and traps her there before spraying pesticide on Celia's face to melt it. After learning about Celia's death from the police and being suggested that there was a link to Brandon's death, Gemma becomes suspicious of M3GAN. She examines the video files in M3GAN's memory, but only sees a brief clip of her looking at Brandon looking at Katie with a threatening expression before all the files get corrupted. Gemma takes Katie to the official M3GAN launch, but first, she stops for a session with Lydia. Katie gets angry and throws a tantrum because Gemma took M3GAN away from her, which leads Katie to hit her aunt in the face. Katie apologizes, but Gemma has a heartfelt conversation with her about the need to handle her pain for her parents without M3GAN's help, although she promises to be a better guardian for her and says that Katie is the only thing that matters to her. Gemma then goes to see Tess and Cole and expresses her fears that M3GAN has killed Brandon and Celia. They have M3GAN connected to some wires to deprogram her while Gemma takes Katie home. David is angry about the low turnout at the launch and yells at Kurt to bring him a drink. Meanwhile, Tess and Cole try to access M3GAN's programming, but they can't unless they disconnect her first. Cole is going to do it, and M3GAN quickly wraps a thread around his neck to try to strangle him. Tess is going to free him, and M3GAN causes an explosion that destroys her files. Then she finds David in the hallway and does a dance before grabbing a paperclip and chasing him. She reaches the elevator before she impales him in front of Kurt. M3GAN then tells Kurt that she will present his death as a murder-suicide due to the stolen files and the mistreatment inflicted by David before stabbing Kurt in the throat. The launch crowd finds the bodies, allowing M3GAN to slip away from the company and steal a car. Gemma put Katie to bed before hearing M3GAN play the piano downstairs. M3GAN confronts Gemma about how she felt they had a real relationship during M3GAN's development, only to be left to her own devices to learn and adapt before being sold as just another toy. She proposes letting M3GAN take custody of Katie so Gemma can focus on work, but after seeing that Gemma still plans to disconnect her, M3GAN is done playing nice. They try to hide their fight from Katie, but Gemma seizes the opportunity to splash water on M3GAN and briefly short-circuit her. Gemma runs to her office, but M3GAN catches her and threatens to leave her in a state of brain death so that Katie doesn't live with her grandparents and M3GAN can simply take care of Katie and Gemma together. They start to fight, Gemma cutting M3GAN's face with a weed whacker. But Katie comes to see what's happening. M3GAN tries to win Katie over, but after realizing who the real villain is, Katie grabs Bruce's gloves and activates them. The larger robot captures M3GAN and throws her before splitting her body in two. The upper half then chases Katie for feeling betrayed, but Gemma catches M3GAN and starts stabbing her face. M3GAN almost overpowers her until Katie grabs a screwdriver and stabs the central processing chip, stopping M3GAN forever. Gemma and Katie leave as the police arrive with Tess and Cole, injured and shocked but still alive. Meanwhile, the LC device in the kitchen turns on and moves its head.